Hello, everybody. Welcome again to this podcast. My name is Ivonne Acuna again, and I'm here, the training specialist at the Brokerage. And we're so happy to have you here with us again on this topic that is very important for all of us now during this time of the year, compliance. And specifically, we're going to be talking today about events. And with me, I have Diana, who is our compliance officer. Hi, Diana. How are you?
Hi, Yvonne. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here and nice to have you here.
Yeah, so last month we had our communications and marketing training, and then that was followed by a podcast too that we just kind of summarized the training. And we wanted to do the same with this training we had a few weeks ago regarding events, and just kind of give you an overview of what happened during the training, the questions that were left out that we weren't able to answer. We're going to answer them here today, and we're very excited to have you again and just be talking about this very important topic. And we need to talk about compliance, and we need to go in depth a little bit during the trainings to understand the importance of not being anxious or have fear around this topic, but instead just jump on it, grab on the information, learn about it, and practice and practice and practice. And we've talked about this, Diana, during our trainings too, the importance of just reviewing the information over and over again.
That's correct. So the more you practice, the easier it becomes, and you comprehend the material, the rules, the regulations better. So the more that you practice, and of course, we're here to help reach out with resources. So if you have any questions, we're always here for you.
Yes. And again, we also spoke about CMS and their goal. And, we asked some of our attendees what they thought the CMS goal was, and we also did a little activity on our first training. And sometimes they think, well, CMS goal is just to make my life difficult, but not really. CMS is there to help you, to guide you, to protect you as an agent even, and also the people that you give service to. So just keep that in mind as we speak about this topic. And let's just jump into it straight, Diana. Let's just talk about how many types of events can we have?
Well, there's two types of events. You have educational and you have sales events. Now, the sales events will have different components. It's either going to be a formal event or an informal event. But an educational event is just an educational event.
Okay, and if we can just also describe to whoever is looking at us today and listening to this podcast, what are the specifics in each type of event?
So on the educational event, it's basically to educate the consumer, your attendees, on Medicare and the different plan types of Medicare, but not very specific, exactly like what you were presented a sales event. A sales event, you're diving into particular plans, what they offer, plan types. You talk about maybe premiums. Sorry. Premiums. You may talk about co-insurance, co-pays, things like that. That's very specific. But educational is just basically educating the consumer, especially those that are just entering Medicare. They're newly eligible, and a lot of people don't really understand what Medicare is because they've either had like traditional insurance, health insurance, job insurance, that kind of thing. So it's a whole new world for them. So they really look forward to these events to understand what is Medicare. And when I mean Medicare, it's original Medicare. Mm-hmm. And then what's the difference between original Medicare and, say, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, prescription drug plans, things like that. So they really look forward to these events to kind of get a better understanding so they can make better choices.
Mm-hmm. And then also for sales, you can have two different type of events in sales.
Correct.
Formal and informal, and you mentioned that. And it's very important to know the difference of the things that could happen in each one of the different types of events. So let's just jump into that. And the first thing that we did, and we want you to be very mindful of this. And if you go back and you see our training, which is recorded and is uploaded already in the brokerage link, you can go back and just take the whole training again, you'll find a QR code at the end that will also give you some helpful resources. But the way we presented this information is we divided it because we feel that if we just give you all that information, you might feel a little overwhelmed. So we divided it into prior the event, during the event, and after the event. So when we talk about prior the event, we have to talk about your materials going out. Communications and marketing materials. And the first thing and the very important thing that CMS says is make sure that your material is specific. And it says what type of event you're going to be hosting.
Correct. So if you're going to, obviously, you need to have an invitation or some kind of announcement that your event is taking place. But, when you have or you're presenting a type of event, you have to let the consumer know what are they attending. Are they attending an educational event where they can kind of learn the basics of Medicare and the Medicare Advantage plans and things like that? Or is it going to be a sales event where they have an opportunity to enroll? Mm-hmm. And those are very different. And so you have to make it very transparent to the consumer which event they're going to be attending.
Right. Okay. So once we have that cleared and you know what type of event you're going to be hosting, your material is very specific about it. There are certain things that both type of events share. And we're going to do that first. So we're going to tell you what your material, either if it's a sales event or if it's a educational event, they both should have in there. And the first thing is, again, you have to indicate what type of event it is, and you cannot make RSVP a requirement.
Correct. So I know, especially when you're hosting like an event or party or anything, you'd like to know basically the head count so you can prepare. But unfortunately, with these events, you could request an RSVP. You could ask them to reply. But you cannot say, you must RSVP to attend. You cannot say that at all. So, you could encourage it. And
can you say RSVP request?
Requested. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Requested is fine. You can make that available. But again, it cannot be a requirement for attendance.
Okay, perfect. Then the other thing is be specific when talking about Medicare and make it clear if you're talking either about original Medicare, just good old Medicare, or if you are talking about Medicare Advantage or any other type of plan.
Correct. So that is very big this year with CMS, and not just at events. It's clear across the board. When you're doing any kind of materials that you're creating, Medicare has to be specific for original Medicare only. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be talking about original Medicare, Medicare's fine. But if you're going to be speaking about Medicare Advantage plans, then you must say Medicare Advantage. And Medicare does not encompass all of it. Like it's not you. So be very specific on what your discussion is going to be about.
Okay. And the other thing, and this was very big during our training and also after our training, we got a lot of emails about it and questions about the TTY number and when to use it, how to get it, in which material it should be. So maybe this is a good time to clear all those questions.
Yes. So CMS does require that the TTY number be on your events, whether it's educational or a sales event. If you're providing a telephone number, you must provide the TTY number. And the TTY number, the most common number is you've seen it, the 711 number. But there are other TTY numbers, and you just have to do your research on which one you be prepared to use. But 711 is the most common one, and so you just put it alongside the telephone number. The other times that you would need to put the TTY number would be when you include a customer service number, say to the organizations, which are the carriers, or to CMS, or any of those customer numbers must have the TTY number. There is one exception to that rule.
Of course.
So the exception to that rule is when there's standardized disclaimers, like the TPMO disclaimer, where, the one that says we do not represent every plan in there. Okay, so that one does provide the Medicare number, but it doesn't have a TTY number. So whenever there's a standardized disclaimer, You must use it as is, as worded. You cannot make any changes to it. So don't include the TTY number on that one if they don't have it. So, but if it's your own, you're creating it, by all means, please add it.
Okay, perfect. And then the other thing, the other two things that we share about educational and sales prior to your event is, number one, make sure you ask your carrier if you have to register your event. That applies to both type of events. And the other thing is, mention also they'll be talking to a licensed agent. And then the question also, how and when can we use the word free? And that was a question after the training too. And we want to go also a little bit in depth regarding this question, Diana.
Yes. So if you're going to use the term free, or when you cannot use the word free, is when you're describing $0 premiums. Any type of reduction in premiums, reduction in deductibles or cost sharing, any kind of low income subsidies, or any kind of cost sharing pertaining to dual eligible individuals. So those are the times that free is not allowed for that word or for that purpose.
Okay, so they can say free meals will be available.
Yes, or like a free vaccine or something. So if it's a service or something like that that they're truly providing for free, then yes, you can say that. If it's something that like the plan is actually providing, that service. But not for when it comes to premiums and such. So
okay, perfect. And then the other thing that you must make sure that your material going out doesn't do is that you don't only limit your event to people 65 years old or older. And also, if you are going to cancel your event or there's going to be a change on your event, you have to notify your carriers. Okay, and those are the things that they share. Now, let's see the things that are different between both types of events. Number one, again, you have to register your event. So you might have to register your event. I'm going to say that. So make sure you go back to your carrier. But with sales, you might not only have to register, but you might have to file it.
Yes, and actually the carriers, when you register your event with the carriers, they actually do all of that for you. So you will have to follow their rules regarding the time limits, like when to register, how far in advance, and then they provide all the requirements for hosting that event, and then they will file it if it's a CMS requirement. For educational, each carrier will have their own requirements. So before you do any kind of event, always check with your carriers. And which carriers do you check with? The ones that you are certified in appointment with. All of them.
Okay, so one of the questions here was too, Diana, can I advertise for several carriers?
Well, yes. If you represent several carriers, then yes, you can definitely have that present in your sales event. But when you cannot make a comparison to, like, say, if you're representing one carrier, certified and appointed with one, you cannot make a comparison to one that you're not certified and appointed with. So you may only discuss the carriers that you're certified and appointed with.
Okay, perfect. Then the other thing was the disclaimers. And disclaimers was a big thing during our communications and marketing training. And again, we went in depth regarding disclaimers in that training. And you can find that link also in the brokerage link, the recording. Go back, listen to the training, make sure you understand it. But for this type of materials for events, you might have to add disclaimers for your sales events. So make sure you add those in there.
Correct. If you have any kind of marketing content, there are many disclaimers that are new for 2024, and make sure that you include all those disclaimers in your material if it has marketing content. In some cases, you may have to include other disclaimers. Again, it's all going to depend on your content.
Okay. And then the last thing is, remember that you must use pre-approved materials. So if you are putting out there a marketing piece, you have to make sure that's been approved by CMS. This process can take up to 45 days, and that's without the time that it takes to take your piece through the carrier. So just make sure you are on time for that, and that you're also compliant with that, okay? So that's prior to the event. And now let's say you went out with your communication pieces. You have the list of people that said they're going to be there, or maybe you don't know how many because not everybody wanted to RSVP because you cannot make it a requirement, remember. And then you're ready for the day of your presentation. So again, we're going to see now during the presentation things that both type of events share. And the number one is make sure people can find you. Okay, make sure that the people at the venue know where to guide them so they can find you so you avoid a non-show infraction. Be on time, and they're very big about this, Diana, as well.
Very big, yes. And you can actually, and then this is a very real thing, there are secret shoppers that may be attending your event, and they will take into account your time, your punctuality. So make sure that you are actually not on time. You're actually early to your event because if you're on time, you're already late.
Yes, right. And then you want to say hello to everybody that is coming in. You want to make sure that everything is ready. If you're going to have snacks or if you're going to have meals, if it's an educational event, then you can be there and have everything ready. And again, use pre-approved materials. And you may not distribute plan benefits or cost sharing information, nor conduct marketing on sales activities or sales activities on an educational event. BRCs, you may have them there available if people want to ask for them, but you cannot make a requirement for them to fill them out.
Correct. Just have them available. Point them in the direction if they ask for more information. Just make sure it's there. But correct, you cannot say you must fill out this card or anything like that.
How about pre-filled sign-in sheets?
No. So if anybody does RSVP and you have a list and you want them to check their name that they attended, that is not permitted. So you may have a sign-in sheet and you have to put a disclaimer on your sign-in sheet that it's optional to fill it out. They cannot be required to fill it out, but you may have one available.
Okay. And then these BRCs, remember, they're good for 12 months. So make sure you are keeping that information secure. You also need to pay attention and be sensitive to the needs or special needs of your customers. If they have any language barriers, physical or any disabilities, just make sure that you are being attentive to those needs and you accommodate for them as well. You might not use high pressure tactics. And this was very funny because we presented a video also with the boogeyman. And those of you that were with us on the communications and marketing training, we introduced the boogeyman of compliance. And the boogeyman was here also. The boogeyman was here with us on events. And the person hosting the event had a guy handcuffed and was obligating him to sign the enrollment, and you can't do things like that, like, hey, you go ahead and sign here, and you can't use pressure tactics.
That's correct. No pressure tactics. It is up to the consumer to decide if they want to enroll. This is for the sales events, and so, but definitely cannot be required.
And they were also asking if they can share other information other than healthcare products, if they can give out that information.
They could give out some general information for the Well, you could provide educational information on your sales event, and obviously educational information in the educational event, but it's very general content.
Yes, and that's for educational events. Remember, plan specifics, you have to leave it for sales events. Now, things that are different, number one, in educational events, you may provide meals, and the value is up to $15 per person. In sales events, you can only give out snacks.
Correct. Just small bites.
Yes, and we talked about, we had this question actually, what if I want to give a snack, but then you're kind of like putting a meal together, right? Like with the little things that are valued to $15, but it actually looks like a meal. Can they do that?
No. A snack is a snack, and it cannot be put together as a meal. Otherwise, it would be counted as a meal. So
regarding the meals too, they were asking, if I cannot make RSVP a requirement, how do I know how many people I get ready for with the meals? And that's actually a very good question. So what tricks could they use to kind of, be ready with their food?
Well, first of all, venue size. Venue size will put a limit anyway. And because you never know, some of our older consumers may have someone that may have to bring them, because it could be, like a family member or someone who helps them, get around. So, so even though they may RSVP one, if they happen to RSVP, there may be two actually coming. So anyway, but venue size is always a consideration, as far as if you have like up to 50 people, most likely you're not going to have over that. But I would suggest just having snacks. I mean, that's always a good. You don't have to provide you don't have to provide a meal at the educational event. You can, but snacks are always a good thing. Just something, just to snack on, to listen to the event. If you want to have something a little bit more formal, like a formal meal for the educational events, then yes, you could just kindly ask them to RSVP so you can get a better head count.
They can say meals will be provided.
Yeah, please.
If you can please RSVP.
Yes.
That could be something that could work for them. I've seen that in several pieces going on.
Yeah, so that would help. Maybe encourage, but not required.
Okay, and then this is a big question regarding the timing after an educational event. How long do they have to wait to have a sales event? Is it 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? Can they do it the same day if it's in a different location? Can they do it immediately after if it's in a different location? So tell us a little bit about that, Diana.
12 hours. 12 hours if you're going to host it in the same location. And a lot of people were not 100% sure what the same location means. So the same location means in the same building or in an adjacent building. So it can't be next to it. Now, if you're going, across the street, around the corner, somewhere different, and you're hosting an event immediately after, and you want to direct your guests, if they want to, you're going to have a sales event over there, they're welcome to attend. You can definitely do that. But it cannot be. They cannot feel pressured, and you cannot make it a requirement.
And we talked about this in both trainings. As clients, we don't want to feel pressured to do anything. And I mentioned an experience I had at a mall. I was walking, and literally it's like they grabbed my hand, and all of a sudden I was sitting down on this bench, and all of a sudden they were putting makeup on my face, and I was like, when does this happen? Literally it was like a pressure tactic. I'm gonna do it, and they were immediately wiping my face, my makeup off with a wipe, and just ready to put, and then they had to do it because they had already taken the makeup off. So nobody really likes to feel like this, Diana, and that's why CMS has this guideline in place. Just make sure that whoever is going to attend that event, make sure that they're not feeling pressured to do so. Okay, so we're past during the event. Now you're on your presentation, and we're going to see some things that can be on your presentation. For example, one of the on the educational event, you may not go over plan specifics, and we talked about this. We have a lot of questions about that. What can I say? What can I say? And you already mentioned it. For sales events, state your name, that you're a licensed agent, and the carriers and plans that you represent. Use the approved compliant material for the plan year, and provide enrollment guide to each client that requests one on a sales event. You may not present non-health related products, and only compare competitor plans if you have credentials with them. And again, don't use superlative words such as the best. So this is actually during the presentation.
That's correct. You cannot say, here is, all the specifics on plan A, and these are all the specifics on plan B, which is the best, So
Yes.
you can't do anything like that to really
Guide or
because that's kind of goes along the sides that maybe would be considered like a little high pressure, I have to go that one because I want the best, but it may not necessarily be the best for them because it's very specific. When you go through the enrollments, you want to make sure that you cater to your client to give them exactly what really is best for them, but not necessarily that plan is the best.
Yes. So. And we know that the agents that follow us and are on the brokerage understand very well that customer service, putting your client first here at the brokerage, that's our number one goal. putting our customers first. And that is you as an agent or you as an agency. And we want to also, let that go down to our agents and that will also show in the service that they give to each client and each person they have in front of them, and making sure that they have really what they need and not necessarily what is convenient for us or for you. So, all right. So the other thing, and this was very interesting, a lot of questions around this, Diana, is giveaways, gift cards, and raffles. And, people love these. Like, all you need to say is, we're going to have a giveaway, and everybody's faces literally changes. So we want to make sure that you understand what you can do and what you cannot do. And so the first thing is, don't you give cash or cash equivalent out.
No cash, no cash equivalent. And cash equivalent is basically in a form of a gift card that could be transferred to cash. So say you cannot give a $25, say, Visa gift card, or also what would be considered or falls in that category is basically like a retailer that has a wide variety of products, like marketplaces, and that you can purchase just about anything. So that would be considered also a big no-no.
Yeah, they can give gift cards out if they're for specific items like gas, for example, or coffee. You can do that, but there is an amount limit.
Yes. So the amount it goes back to the $15 per person, but you could, if you have, let's just say 10 attendees, then you're looking at, you can go up to $150.
But that's for the raffle. So the gift cards, can they be for $150 if it's only one?
Well, if you're giving it out if it's only one, yes. But
Okay.
if like just say you're giving out any kind of gifts or like individual, then yes, the cap is $15.
$15. And then the other thing that they mentioned they're very big about is make sure you let everybody participate. You don't make it a requirement they have to give out their information in order to participate.
Right. They cannot. You cannot make them give out information, and you can't make it a requirement that it's only available for those who enroll. So it has to be open to everyone.
Okay. And this is a good question. Here at the brokerage, we have something that is called the Brokerage Bucks. If you're not here with us, go ahead and look for that information. You as an agent, can we use Brokerage Bucks to get items or get gift cards for our attendees?
So it is yes and no. So the yes comes in form of that the Brokerage Bucks can be used for promotional giveaways. Say you want to give out like little, little packets to everyone that attends. Then yes, if it's a promotional giveaway, by all means, you can use your Brokerage Bucks. You cannot use it for gift cards of any kind. So if it's used for gift cards, then the answer would be no. But prizes, yes.
Just go to our website and look for the information. There's a lot of benefits here at the brokerage that we have ready for you, and we wish to be part of your success. So go ahead and go and look for more information. You can also contact us. We'll be giving you our contact information at the end. The other thing is after the event. Okay, so you're done. You put out your material. People came. You had a whole bunch of people coming. You are a happy camper. So now your event is over. And what can you do? So remember, there's a 12-hour cool-off period between your educational event and your sales event. So make sure you comply with that in the same location. And then the other thing is about BRCs and SOAs, if they can enroll somebody after a sales event. That was another question, Diana. And maybe we'll just talk about that and we'll go after and see the other questions.
Yes. Okay. So at a sales event, if someone is requesting to enroll, yes, you can enroll someone at your after your sales event. So that is permitted. It is considered, since they came to your event voluntarily, then they are considered walk-ins to the event. And so yes, you could conduct enrollments. Okay, but let's just say a consumer or an attendee is very interested, but they're not quite ready to enroll then.
Mm-hmm. And you have an SOA.
Yes, you could collect a scope of appointment or a permission to contact or BRC or something where you can where they give permission to reach back out to them. So you can collect that. And then, but remember that there is a 48-hour rules. So if they're not enrolling then, you must if you get the scope of appointment, you have to wait the 48 hours before you can enroll them.
So if you have an attendee that says, okay, I like the information I'd heard, but I'm not quite ready to enroll today, can we make an appointment so that you can come maybe in 2 days to my house and we can go over the specifics, and see if I'm ready to do that. Can they do that?
They could do, if you collect a scope of appointment, discuss whatever products are going to be discussed at the appointment. They give permission. 48 hours after, then you could by all means schedule that appointment. They could either come in, you can go there, you can do it. Now we have the telephonic enrollments, so you can provide different ways to enroll.
Okay, and the other thing was the permission to contact. If this is collected during an informal sales event, and again, informal is when you do it at a retail store or a doctor office reception, you have to make sure you keep those secure. And they're very, very big about this, but there was a question during our training that can somebody at the office collect my BRCs or my permissions to contact?
Yes, they have providers have very specific rules and regulations with the CMS, just as agents do. So no, they are not permitted to collect your BRCs if they're allowing you to have material available in their office. So you are responsible for that material. But also as an agent, you're responsible in making sure that material is secure.
Yes. Remember, you have private and sensitive information on those permission to contacts and BRCs. Okay. Some best practices that we want to share with you today is transparency. And we talked about that in the last training. When you're putting out there your material, make sure people know what they're attending. If it can be interpreted, then maybe you need to go back and review your material.
Correct. And I've had this a few times on some of the material that has been submitted to us. If you have to explain what you mean on the material, you're probably not doing a very good job of it, of making it very transparent.
Yeah.
So make sure that it's very clear on what you mean.
Perfect. And then the other thing is make sure you're on time. We talked about that. Clarify if your event is educational or is a sales event. Use common sense. Put yourself in your client's shoes. Make sure, how would you feel if you're reading that material? How would you feel if you're in an event and somebody tells you, but maybe you're ready to sign today, like if you're using pressure tactics like that, how would you feel? So just use common sense. Be sure to accommodate guests with special needs. And then this is a big one, and you mentioned it. Be careful because you might have secret shoppers at your event.
Correct. And that is a very real thing. And I think secret shoppers are going to be very huge this year, not just at events, but for other things as well. The carriers are actually, CMS is requiring carriers to provide more oversight over agents and brokers. And so, and they're already conducting certain audits. And that's going to include secret shopping to events as well. So,
and listen, there's no reason to be anxious about this. Oh my goodness, do I have a secret shopper sitting in the room? Like, if you're doing everything correct, if you are thinking about your client, if you're following the guidelines, it's like you driving down the street with your driver's license and worrying, oh, what if there is a cop hiding behind that bush, behind that building? Then if you're speeding, if you are breaking the rule, then yeah, you'll be worrying. But if you're abiding by the rules, then you'll be okay. And it's the same thing for this. You shouldn't feel anxious or have fear around it. Just make sure that you have the right intention behind everything you do, and that intention is the best interest of your client. And then also some things that CMS has come out and be more specific about, latest updates on CMS. Diana, they have asked this question so much about the Medicare logo, Medicare card in their communication and marketing material going out. Let's just talk about it, because I think that you're probably asking that question right now.
Yeah, that's probably the most common question. Everyone is so scared to use the word Medicare. Don't be scared to use the word Medicare. Medicare, if just remember, if you say Medicare, just know that it's original Medicare. That's what Medicare means. And so if you're just very specific, when you do say Medicare, mean original Medicare. If you mean Medicare Advantage, make sure that's what you mean. But when it comes to, like, say, your material, and you want to have, say, a Medicare logo, a Medicare card, or anything like that, they have been approved. CMS has been approving those. They will approve it in your material, but you have to have the right intention. So if you want to show, like, say, do you have Medicare, and you're showing the Medicare card, so that way, to associate people, oh, Medicare, yes, I have this card. This is Medicare. Then, usually that's okay. If you're just, wanted to look pretty on your material, and you just like the way the Medicare card looks, they'll even approve those, but you have to make sure that you include a disclaimer that you're not affiliated with or endorsed by, say, the federal government, Medicare, or anything like that. But, it's not a specific wording that they're requiring, but just as long as you have that meaning behind it. And so all of it does, regardless of how you use it, though, it will have to be sent into CMS to have it approved. And then what they do generally is they email back, and they'll tell you, yes, this material is approved. Keep that email, because that's your proof that if anybody comes back, you can say, hey, CMS said I can use it in this way. And especially if it's a material, a marketing material that has to go back through. Now, just because they gave you permission to the logo or the use of the card does not mean your material, the rest of the material, is approved for use. So if it's marketing, you still have to go through the process of submitting it through the carriers first for approval, and then through CMS. But now you have this email that says, hey, I have permission to use the Medicare card, so you cannot disapprove the material based on the card alone, so so they'll look at the permission, and then they'll start reviewing the rest of the material, and then it goes right back through to CMS.
Okay, awesome. So the other thing that they wanted to clear out was the usage, using the word Medicare or Medicare Advantage. And we talked about this. Just understand, if you only say Medicare, CMS will understand that you're talking about good old original Medicare. If you are talking about some other type of plan, Medicare Advantage or supplemental, you have to include the word. And CMS will understand that you're talking about Medicare Advantage, not about Medicare or just the original Medicare. And we have some other questions, Diana, before we finish here this podcast. Can you market more than one carrier?
Well, if you're presenting at a sales event, then you can market all of the carriers that you represent. You just cannot be biased to one.
Okay. Virtual events. What are the requirements? Are they the same? Are they different?
They're the same requirements. Now, the only difference with obviously, like at a virtual event, sales event, it's not a walk-in that you can roll someone in front of everyone online. So, then you just have to apply all the rules, So if someone's wanting, make available for them to contact you, that type of thing, then yes, you can do that. But a virtual event has the same rules. If it's education, provide educational material. If it's sales, then you could provide marketing material.
Okay. What's considered a walk-in?
A walk-in is basically that it is consumer initiated. So you cannot say, hey, Mrs. Jones, can you walk outside the door and come back in? Okay, that's not consumer initiated. So consumer initiated, approaching either your event, you at your office, telephone call, it has to be consumer initiated, and that would be considered a walk-in.
And then we have some additional questions that came in after. For example, they were asking how can they submit their materials? And we have now a link, the brokerage link, and maybe you can share that with us.
Yes. So if you go to the brokerageinc.com and you go to the agent broker link, log on to that. There's a compliance tab. If you click on the compliance tab, there is the availability to submit your material, and it even will help you provide a SMID number. What is an SMID number? That is an identification number that is used on your material, and that helps identify the material with the carriers and with CMS.
Okay. When do I use the TPMO disclaimer on my material?
Okay, so the material, if it's a marketing material, then you must display the TPMO disclaimer. On your website, it has to be prominently displayed. They can't be looking for it. It's got to be very, on the landing page, very obvious. You do have to verbally convey that message if you're doing it like a telephonic sell. And it has to be done within the first minute of the call. And yes, they do check on that. So when they ask for recordings, so make sure that you do it within the first minute.
And how about, they're asking here, how do I get an educational presentation approved?
It's the same way. So just say you have, not just educational, but even sales. You have, say, like a PowerPoint of your slides. And I've even had, some where they even have, like, say, the Medicare card logo and all that. That all has to go through CMS. So, yes, if you have them, even on your presentation, if you have any kind of the Medicare card image or logo, let's send those off to CMS, and they will go through slide by slide and tell you where it's permitted. And then, but if you want to just make sure that all your content is compliant, submit it in the same way like you would any kind of material. Go through our agent broker link, upload your PowerPoint or your presentation. And then what we will do is we will actually send those out to the carriers that you represent. We have that information. And have them look it over, and they will give suggestions or feedback if there's any kind of revisions or maybe something that's not quite compliant or unclear. They will give you that feedback, and then once you make those changes, they approve it. Depending if it has to continue on to CMS, then we would go with the filings. If it's all communication and doesn't have to be filed with CMS, they will tell you that you're good to go.
Okay, so see, we make it very easy for you as an agent. Even in our brokerage link, there is this tab. You go there, there's this form, you fill it out, you upload your material, and we'll take care of it. We'll go and send it to the carriers. We have that information because you are here with us at the brokerage. If you're not, again, go back and review those benefits and things that we can do for you here. And we just want to be of help. The other question is, what if we just have Medicare as part of our business name? How do we request CMS approval, or what is specific language on this so we can understand if a business name is compliant?
Okay. So Medicare actually, or CMS will not approve or disapprove of a business name at this point. So you have to check with your state laws, rules, regulations. I know Florida right now is absolutely not permitting Medicare in a business name at all. None of the other states have implemented that rule yet, because we don't know if they will or not. That's going to be up to the state. And then again, yet as far as federally, because we don't know if they're going to implement that federally. But if you do now currently have, say, Medicare in your business name, like say your Medicare or Us, just make sure that on all your material, you must have a disclaimer that says that you are not affiliated or endorsed with the federal government. And that includes business cards, letterheads, anything that has your name on it will have to have that disclaimer.
Okay. So we have put together some resources for you that will help you understand all of this that we've talked about here in this podcast, and a lot of other information that we went through regarding communication and marketing material, and more in detail about events. And in our presentation or the recording of the training that took place about events, you will find at the end a QR code. You can go in that QR code and you will find there a link to our President Mike and our Vice President Josh's video about CMS final rules. You will find a summary of those final rules and link there for that. You will find the link to the communications and marketing training that took place and some other links that will be very helpful for you. So we encourage you to go back, go in the events training. At the end, you'll find the QR code. And then there's also even some questions that you can practice your knowledge. You can make sure that you're being compliant. Also, we want to remind you that in September 6th, we will be having our sales training. So this will be very interesting. We're going to be talking about what if you're selling in person? What if you are doing a phone call? Even what if you're on a Zoom call? So different things that apply to those. Some, again, will repeat because CMS has the same guidelines in place for whatever type of sales you're doing. But some will be different. So make sure you tune in September 6th. You can register through our Brokerage Link website. And also, we want to remind you that our roadshows are coming up. And Diana, I want you to encourage them to participate on those roadshows.
Yes, absolutely. If you haven't ever come to one of our roadshows, there's a lot of valuable information that is there for you. We do have carriers present. We're present. But it's really exciting, and it's really good to get like that buzz going right before AEP in your sales. We will have Ivonne will be present. I will be present on some of them, and so if any of you come, bring your questions, and we welcome each and every one of you, whether you are currently with the brokerage or if you're not. So
yes, so that's it, guys. That's what we have for events today. We're so happy that you were able to join us today, and I just really encourage you to be here for our next training so you can start getting familiar with all this information. Remember, the more you listen to it, the more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to feel around the information, and that's going to be key to your success. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Diana, for being here
Yvonne.
again.
Thank everyone.
Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.